Good afternoon. Lovely afternoon to be sure. Well, I want to welcome you to St. John Lutheran Church. My name is Mark Fisher, and I am the pastor here. And we are excited to be able to have this performance today featuring Christa Grix on harp, and of course Sean Michael Jackman, our music director, on piano and organ. And as we continue to move through the season of Lent, we're hoping that the music that you hear will be welcome to your soul and guide you on your path to self-reflection. And with that, let us pray. Gracious God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the gift of music and how it does work such mystery and magic in our lives. We pray your blessing of peace upon our gathering today, and we ask that your Spirit guide us and keep us. In the name of your Son, Jesus, amen.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for being here. I'm Sean Michael Jackman, and the organist and music director here. And we're going to start with the pedal exercitum. And this is like a study. You know, Chopin wrote studies and things like that. But it's sort of interesting because you play it just with your feet, and there's only one note at a time. And that's why this piece is called, or it's under one thread, so the idea of one musical idea. So our theme, of course, is Lent, and the tunes and songs of Lent, but also this idea of the complexity of the music. And this one, it's not really simple, but it's what we call a thin texture, because there's only one note at a time. Then I'm going to move right into two threads, and those are three pretty short pieces. And most of those, throughout the whole time, you only hear two notes at a time. So it's two threads. And we maybe don't think about this in music. We think a lot about melody and harmony, dynamics, the instruments that are playing, but we don't think about the texture or the thickness of the music. So I teach music history, music theory at Plymouth Canton Schools, part of my course load. And this is something that's sort of hard for people to get, but think about the thinness of the music as you're listening. So I'm going to do the pedal exercitum under two threads, the cornet voluntary, and then the two short pieces from the Suites by Clérambault, who is a French Baroque composer. So, and then I'll come back to talk about three threads. We get to about 4 or 5 probably by the end of it all, but starting with one. So we are in the Lenten season, so our music is perhaps more reserved. We think minor key, we think slow, we think sort of maybe somber. But of course, we couldn't have a whole season of music like that. I mean, people would just be really difficult. So, so some of that music was sort of faster, but a lot of it was maybe a little more contemplative. And a lot of our program today is that. But we're looking at the threads idea, as well as like the emotion in the music and the overall feel, but the structure. So we had one voice in the pedal, right? I used my feet. The other two pieces or three pieces, I never used the feet at all, just keyboard, because I had one note in my left hand and one note in my right hand, and only two notes at any one time. Now we have hymnody. I'm going to play the slow movement from one of the sonatas. 3 notes. One for the right hand, one for the left hand, one for the pedals. And Hindemith is known, he's very famous for this. He wrote a sonata for every instrument because he felt that instruments like tubas, trombones, they all, flute, oboe, clarinet, they all deserve their own sonata, like their own repertoire, and they didn't have it. Like there's very limited repertoire for solo euphonium or solo, there's a lot of trumpet, but a lot of the instruments don't have much. He wrote a sonata for every instrument, and he wrote several for organ and several for piano. It's Hindemith, so it's 20th century, so it's a little challenging. It's outside the common practice era, so some of you aren't going to like it. But maybe you'll like some of it. And I'm using a quiet stop on the organ, and then you should hear like the melodies intertwining, thus the 3 threads. Now I'm going to invite my friend and colleague Christa Grix to come to play the harp, 3 selections, 3 hymns. And these pieces are special to me because Christa wrote them for Antioch Lutheran during the pandemic. We asked her to write these arrangements, and I know that she used them in other places as well, and we used them on our Zoom services. So we were trying to think of ways to keep our Zoom more interesting and support the arts at the same time, and to sort of keep open while we were struggling with the pandemic. So, Lord, who throughout those 40 days, the glory of these 40 days, and what wondrous love.
Thank you. I won't talk much about these pieces because there's very good notes in your program, other than to say that for those of you who were at Antioch, that was a great gift that you gave, not just to me, but those arrangements, there weren't a lot of music for Lent. There wasn't a lot of arrangements out there in the world for harp for the Lenten season. And I published them. I just self-published them for other harpists, and really harpists all over the world play them now. And so your gift resonated throughout the entire world. And I really strove to instead of thinking of Lent as you must give up and you must be righteous or other, I tried to write arrangements that spoke of peace and beauty and inspiration and kindness and gentility. And I hope that resonated with all the harpists and all the congregations around the world, thanks to you and the gifts that you gave to me just 4 years ago. Next piece is the glory of these 40 days. This past week, we had the confluence of many big events, actually, in the last week. And I know this because I've played 5 solo concerts in the last 7 days. This is number 5, and that's because we are celebrating Black History Month in February. We celebrated Valentine's Day on Wednesday, first day of Lent, of course. Which I guess we don't really celebrate. We honor, we commemorate the first day of Lent. And also, I said Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and, Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Is there anything else? It was, I mean, this week was just amazing, all the things that came together in 1 week. And so the programs I've been giving this past week, I've tried to bring all of that together. And the next piece, What Wondrous Love, sort of does that. Obviously, love talks about is appropriate for Valentine's Day. But the piece, as you'll see in your notes, came about in the camps that took place in kind of Appalachia in this country in the 19th century. And actually this hymn that you think is just an old-time hymn that's been around forever, well, really the melody is thought to come from an English ballad for the pirate William Kidd. The words came from the Southern camp meetings, and it was first really in the Methodist hymnal in the 1960s. But from those Southern camp meetings came a lot of good things, a lot of nonprofit organizations in the United States, also the rise of the Baptist denomination, the Methodist denomination. So in a way, I think that all comes full circle to Abraham Lincoln, because that happened at the same time of when he was alive. So I just feel like this next piece kind of brings all of that together. And I love it. For those of you who have musical background, it's written in a Dorian mode. And really, Dorian mode means that the third note of the scale and the seventh note of the scale are lowered. So a lot of jazz musicians think Miles Davis invented modal playing, but this piece has been around for almost 200 years, and it's in the Dorian mode, and that's what gives it its haunting, kind of otherworldly sound. This is what wondrous love.
So the next section is piano. We've heard the organ and the harp, and now the piano. This is Debussy. Debussy was an impressionist. He and Ravel started this movement, which really continued, but in a limited way. So we think of the main impressionist composers as Ravel and Debussy. Other composers have written sort of an impressionistic style. It's supposed to be sort of music that creates a feeling or an emotion or sort of a haze. And the first one is Snow is Dancing, connected to Lenten themes. We usually would have snow in February. My luck for my theme, it's not. I'm looking out at the sun, but I'm happy not to have the snow. But anyway, you'll hear the swirling sounds in the way the music's written. And I'm going to move right to the Sunken Cathedral following that. The Sunken Cathedral is based on a myth. Think Loch Ness Monster. We hear in the music the cathedral rising up and then it going away. So it's actually a beautiful piece. And these are new pieces to me, both of these. I think Debussy creates the feeling of these, which sort of fits with our tapestry idea and the emotions, perhaps, of Lent, and how music can create pictures and feelings within us. the final Debussy piece before Christa comes back is the toccata, which I was trying to figure out how to tie that to Lent or Tapestries or tunes or the season. I wanted to play it, but we can't be all in a minor key and slow and emotive and sort of dreary. So this is the upbeat. St. Patrick's Day happens in Lent, so this is like a St. Patrick. Its toccata is quick moving of the fingers and built on a lot of the themes of the predecessors. Bach wrote tons of toccatas, and as it mentions in the notes, there's an opening movement that's one note at a time. So that's like a violin solo. You can sort of hear how he translated that to the piano. So the toccata by Debussy.
That's from a suite of music I wrote because I like to garden, and I wanted to write a suite of music about gardening. That piece is Morning Glory. It's supposed to evoke a sunrise. During the liturgical season of Lent, we spend 4 weeks, 40 days in prayer, fasting, meditation, preparing for the risen Christ, Easter. In the same way that Easter is the symbolism of rebirth, nature does the same thing for us, because around the same time in our woodlands, the trillium emerges as a symbol of spring and rebirth. And I don't know about you, but whenever I see trillium, makes me smile. It just feels like a symbolism of dreams and rebirth. So this next piece is appropriate, I think, Trillium Dreams. And then following spring and the trillium, we have summer. And most harp music that I've encountered is always slower, and as Sean has said, we need some fast music in our life too. So I've never really heard a samba on the harp, and so I decided to write one. So Black Orchid is and I'll go right into it from Trillium Dreams.
Thank you, Krista. I like that one a lot. And I'm not like a samba kind of person, but I like that one a lot. The final piece of the first half is the hymn to St. Cecilia. And of course, she's the patron saint of music. I don't know if everyone knew that. And my mom's elementary school, where she actually taught, was called St. Cecilia's School, Catholic. So I was thinking about that as we were getting ready for the program, just a neat coincidence. This is a piece written for violin and many different instruments. This is an arrangement for organ, harp, and violin. And we don't have the violin, so I'm sort of covering the violin, so it's like a reimagining of an arrangement of an original composition. It's Gounod. And I hope you enjoy it to finish this first half. The second half is shorter, so don't worry. And we'll have an intermission, just a little break, and then a lovely reception after. I know it's lovely because we've had it before, and I have confidence. I know, and I've seen the treats. So at this time, there'll be a free will offering right after the piece during the intermission, and then hope to see you in the narthex for the reception after the second half. Someone said, a friend of mine at church said, "Oh my gosh, you're subjecting us to Bartok again." I've become really interested in his music only recently. It's very technical and sort of theoretical, and I'm not playing long pieces, but this is from a collection which he wrote to teach his own son piano. So this is from the 4th, 5th, and 6th books, which were the end of the series. The unison is one thread. There's only one note at a time. Then we have From the Island of Bali, which is sort of an emotional kind of piece that creates a picture. Then Subject and Reflection, which I thought fit for Lent. And then the Ostinato is a rhythmic piece, sort of his take on a piece like the Toccata. So I'm going to play them without coming back. So Unison, From the Island of Bali, Subject and Reflection, and Ostinato.
like to think that I'm in the monastery when I hear it, and the bells are ringing for morning prayers. On a cold January night in 1943, there were many, many luminaries gathered at Carnegie Hall to hear one of the very first times a Black American headlined at Carnegie Hall. And I'm speaking of Duke Ellington. He wrote a special piece to capture the African American story in America through music. And he worked to combine the symphonic language of the symphony orchestra with jazz. It was his first attempt to do so. The piece was called Black, Brown, and Beige. It got mixed reviews, but I think it's just amazing to think that celebrities ranging from Leopold Stokowski to Eleanor Roosevelt to Langston Hughes to Frank Sinatra all showed up to hear this concert. And while the piece he wrote, Black, Brown, and Beige, may not have been very successful at the time, it opened up the door for him to return to Carnegie Hall and debut a new work for the next 2 decades. From that symphonic composition, Black, Brown, and Beige, one piece from that composition emerged and has remained very popular even to this day, and that is the beautiful ballad, Come Sunday, in which Duke Ellington strove to capture the African American story in the church. This is my arrangement of Come Sunday. Another piece that's kind of a two-for, a three-for, a three-for. My last piece, L-O-V-E, isn't that what this is all about, right? And I wanted to end the program with it because the artist who made it famous was the first African American to really cross all musical lines and become a pop star in his own right. not just a black artist, everybody's artist. And I'm speaking of Nat King Cole. And I just have a fun arrangement of L-O-V-E.
Thank you. No, I have the three short pieces. We're returning to the tunes of Lent. I may do this as a mashup, as my students say, where we just play a portion of the hymns, but Sacred Head by Buxtehude, two chorales by Bach. You'll hear these throughout Lent at churches around the world, very famous settings. And then when I finish, I'm going to invite Christa to come back, and we're going to do the aria by the great harpist, Marcel Grandjeannier. Thank you for being here. We'll see you at the reception. So 3 hymn tunes and then the aria.
There's a lot of them.